ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Chimera Elite. Today, we're gonna go in depth with the Chimera. This crazy unit that actually, in my opinion, is probably one of the better units, just flat out, in the game, considering the damage that she can pour out, considering her utility, and also considering not only the orders that she has, but also, again, the utility that she brings with her elixir spell. Now, the Chimera actually decently decked out stats-wise, decent accuracy, okay parry, not amazing. Dodge is low because obviously she's kind of freaking big, so she's an easy target to hit. Damage isn't huge, but then again, she's not exactly a front liner who can just dish out damage just by slapping people. She can, and she does hurt, but it's more of a combo to really get someone feeling the pain. She's decently tough. 12 toughness is pretty good, and her will is obviously her best stat, considering that she's a freaking incarnation of essentially a god. And that kind of brings up her first spell, which is freaking Celestial Scourge. Now, Celestial Scourge is... It hurts. It hurts just about anything. It will tear through a warg, even. In the past, I actually had a video up of myself fighting a lion player, and she hit my warg for, I think, 35 damage in one go. Not in one go, in one turn. She Celestial Scourged me, and then slapped me for about 11 damage. Because Celestial Scourge doesn't just hurt you, it makes you more vulnerable to other attacks, so it's just a whole bag of fun if you're going up against it. Now, in the past, and I'm really glad that they made this change, Celestial Scourge was essentially unlimited. Now, what I mean by that is that there is another line unit which is able to hurt itself to give other units mana. It's called the Sparkling. That's the name of the unit. I'm not sure what the actual name... fuck it, I'm just gonna check. The actual name of the unit is... I'm just gonna hop over to Lion. And... Familiar Sparks. Right here. Devotion. You get hurt for 6, and you give 2 mana. 2 mana might not sound a whole lot, but when you're looking at the Chimera, who already gains 4 mana every turn and has a max of 12 mana, she gets 3 mana per turn, and has a max mana pool of 12 mana, that actually makes a big difference. Because if you have 2 Sparklings on her, then that means every turn she can cast essentially 1 Celestial Scourge. However, in the past, and they recently patched this out, they changed it so Celestial Scourge is actually limited to 1 cast a turn, because people were abusing this. And there's actually a guy I met on Facebook who just said, I'm gonna enjoy one-shotting heroes as long as I can until they patch this shit out. And guess what? It happened. And I'm glad for it, because she's still very, very fucking good. And, there might still be some balancing to do, but she's been reined in to the point where, okay, she's not insane. Now, her next ability is Guardian Angel. It's actually pretty damn good also. And also, one other thing before I go on. You'll notice that all of her spells are pretty decently difficult. Well, guess what? She has Perfect Gem, meaning she gets a bonus of plus 40% to succeed any incantation rolls. So even though these spells are very difficult to actually use, and they have a really high difficulty, she already gets a plus 40% bonus. So she very, very, very rarely, if ever, I don't think I've ever actually seen her fail a spell check, gets her spell out. And actually, kind of going along with that, Perfect Gem also allows her to get 2 extra mana points each new turn. So turn 1, she starts the game with her however many mana, 3 or 4 mana. And then the next turn, instead of just gaining 3 mana, she gains, and I might just be overthinking this, she gains 5 mana. Now, if she starts the game with 4, and let's say she uses Guardian Angel on someone, although I don't really know why you'd use a spell like that so early, that means that she immediately has enough mana to get and use Celestial Scourge. And then the turn after that, she gets 7 mana at the beginning of the next turn. Meaning that, essentially, after a certain point, she hits critical fucking mass. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter if she has a Sparkling or not now. Because she's getting enough mana to pump out 1 Celestial Scourge a turn. And eventually, she's going to be gaining enough mana so she can cast Celestial Scourge and still have mana left over to cast Guardian Angel, which is what I'm going to get to right now. Now, Guardian Angel kind of does what it sounds like. It gives the unit that you're targeting, and they just changed this also, the unit that it's targeting a plus 2 parry bonus and regeneration, and that unit cannot actually die for the turn. For at least it can technically die once. Essentially, let's say Claire's, the Predator Blood Hero. If she runs up, and let's say there's a tiny little Sparkling, and for whatever reason, she casts Guardian Angel on that Sparkling. Caleris tears that Sparkling a new one, but is stopped short because when the Sparkling's health technically drops to 0, the Guardian Angel kicks in and brings its health back up to 1, preventing the unit from actually getting eliminated. After the unit has been essentially resurrected from the dead, Guardian Angel goes away, and so do all of its other bonuses. Now, the change that they just made was the Chimera can no longer cast Guardian Angel on herself, which is huge. Because think about this. You have a unit that late game is getting, I don't know how much mana. Let's say 3 turns in, she's getting like 7 or 9 mana every single turn. That's huge. That's a Celestial Scourge and a slap in the face for like 10 or 11. Maybe more, maybe less. Depends on your toughness and all that fun stuff. But you get the point. If she can use Guardian Angel on herself, and it's a decisive turn, when my units are getting low, her units are getting low, the Chimera is getting low, if she casts Guardian Angel on herself, and it's late game, and she has enough mana to cast Guardian Angel on herself along with Celestial Scourge, she can pretty much act with impunity. If she's the only unit left, she can essentially Celestial Scourge, boom, someone's either dead or extremely wounded, walk up to them, slap them, Celestial Scourge, into Guardian Angel, into slap, into pursuit movement, and she doesn't really need to care all that much about what actually happens to the Chimera, or at least for once. If it's a 1v1, then she doesn't need to worry. If it's her versus a Caleris or a Warg, then she can literally, in the past at least, she could Guardian Angel herself, fight them, technically die once, come back the next turn, and boom! Celestial Scourge them. In the past, it was even worse, because by that time, she can do 2 Celestial Scourges a turn, which, in case you haven't noticed, Celestial Scourge deals about, on average, maybe like 20 damage. Maybe higher. She dealt 23 or 25 damage to one of my Grave Guardians. Those fuckers are tough. So, that just kind of gives you an idea of how much she actually freaking hurts. Now, her final ability, just like all the other heroes, is an elixir ability. And, in my opinion, it's actually one of the better elixir abilities, at least compared to the Warg, who I talked about in the other video, doesn't really have the best elixir ability in the world. Now, Orb of Clarity, personal, heals. It fucking heals. 15 health. That's a lot of health. That is a lot of health. That's more than a third of a unit's health. That is not fucking easy. And of course, that shoots time again. The fucking trumpet playing in the background. But Orb of Clarity, what it can do is all allies within 3 hexagons around the magician recover 15 health and they gain the conscience attributes. Now, the conscience attribute doesn't really matter a whole lot, just because, at least in the current meta, or whatever you want to call it, no one really runs that I've faced in however many games I've played. No one really ever actually has magicians in their army. Maybe that'll change, and it probably will, because that's what I like about games like this. Different armies have different kind of levels of viability, and people can make weird things work. And those weird things might eventually be the norm, and then something else comes out, and so on and so forth. But the 15 health is huge. If it's late game, and units are kind of getting low, Caleris is getting itchy, and he wants to kill all of them. If she uses fucking Orb of Clarity, that takes all of those guys in that area, if they're clumped up enough, it takes them all out of the danger zone, essentially. And it cuts down Caleris's, which is the Predator Blood, the guy with the infinite, with the potential to do infinite pursuit movements. It cuts him out of the picture, for the most part. You might be able to attack 2 guys on that turn, but that's better than him tearing through your entire army. I've had games where I've torn through 3 units in one turn. It's kind of rare, but it happens. Orb of Clarity takes that out of the picture to a certain degree. Now, this is quickly going on kind of over passives. She has Strategist, which kind of seems to be a norm for the legendary units, at least for the legendary heroes. And that's discipline checks, and that's actually huge because the Lion already have a really high discipline roll, and that almost guarantees that they're gonna go first every single turn, which is extremely important. I already talked about Perfect Gem and how great it is for her. Now, Hyperion, it's really just, it doesn't really affect me so much, but what it does affect is when they're going up against any, in this point, any undead, and in the future, any other armies that are in that faction. And also it also makes her immune to fear, because I've literally feared enemy heroes, the 1 or 2 that can be feared. Now, Prodigy doesn't really in the past, obviously, it made a huge fucking difference with Celestial Scourge. But now, it's not as huge, but it's still big just because she could literally go through every single one of her spells in one turn. Celestial Scourge into Orb of Clarity. Celestial Scourge into Guardian Angel into Orb of Clarity, into slap whoever she just attacked. So that's the whole thing. And then the Enormous and Steadfast, which just kind of comes with being a legendary, enormous hero unit. Her movements, kind of the average for huge, for enormous heroes and such. And as is her HP. However, the last thing I'm going to look at is obviously her price is the same, because that's one thing that they're kind of set on. I kind of hope that changes, but that's besides the point. The last thing I'm going to look at are her orders, and her orders are actually fantastic. They're great. She has offensive, defensive, divine favor, which it's essentially a guaranteed hit. Like, if you miss this, you're good luck, buddy. And the last thing she brings to the table is a fucking divine wrath. Now, that gives righteous, fierce, and ferocious. Now, okay, I might mix this up because I don't actually know what righteous does, because I haven't actually seen it. But I'm pretty sure ferocious allows you to go... Excuse me. It's either ferocious or fierce that prevents you from actually feeling the fucking effects of, like, wounds. And another one makes it so you don't actually die when you die. Like, you get brought down to 0 health, but if you haven't gone yet, you still get your turn. You don't actually die until the entire turn is over. So I can wail on you all I fucking want. But you're not gonna die. She got 60,000 ducats and 119 scions, which pretty damn expensive, but kind of standard fare for legendary heroes. And that's the Chimera. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. And I'm gonna do plenty more of these, so subscribe, because there are more on the way. I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Peace.